dangerous work?
We could stumble into something that we couldn't contend with. It could upset us at a low level that maybe we couldn't recover from. But I don't expect that.
It is really exciting. I mean, because it makes your year. The rest of the year you sit behind the desk and drink coffee.
People like you, swashbucklers, carefree, all those things?
Oh, golly, John, at my mature age, I wish I were swashbuckling and carefree. It's too late for me, John.
Well, right now it's a minimal storm, and that's part of the dilemma because it has the potential to become a dangerous hurricane before reaching that coastline tomorrow.
Well, if it's only, what do you rate it on a scale of 1 to 5, say?
Well, we got a scale of 1 to 5 that we call a Saffir-Simpson scale, so it's a category 1 now, but it could become a strong 2, maybe even a 3 by the time it reaches the coast.
But if it's only a 1 now, why have all those thousands of people been ordered to evacuate?
Oh, listen, we've got a major problem along many of our coastlines today. It literally takes tens of hours to get the people back to high ground. So you can't wait until you see the wind start to blow or the water rise to get out. You've got to get out on the basis of what this storm could potentially do.
And what could it potentially do, sir?
Well, we're talking about 8 to 12 foot of tides above normal. That would mean the islands would go underwater, and so you just have got to get off of those islands to protect your life.
At last report, Elena had slowed down a bit. What does that mean?
Well, that means it could stay out over the water and even strengthen more. So that's bad.
Alabama area. Radar now out of Apalachicola, you can
take it.
Okay, now we've watched very closely the reports that are coming out of the NOAA airplane tonight, and those reports are indicating that the storm has gradually turned more to the north-northwest. Now that means that the threat over in the Florida Panhandle is increased, and so we're going to extend hurricane warnings all the way over to Apalachicola. The other thing now is it is moving slow, and we're continuing to see strengthening, so the winds are up to 95 miles an hour.
What kind of damage might we expect from that?
Well, it's still a Category 1 storm, but it's nearly a 2, and it's still several hours from landfall, and so we could yet have a dangerous hurricane on our hands tomorrow as the storm continues to strengthen tonight and yet tomorrow morning.
Now, Dr. Frank, this is, of course, the last big summer vacation weekend of the year, Labor Day weekend. Do you think some people might not want to move away? They plan their vacations, might not want to leave the beach.
Oh, there's no question about that, and we're very much aware of that. We apologize that we've got to issue hurricane warnings up on that section of the coastline tonight, but we didn't have any choice. Nature has brought a hurricane our way, and now we need to respond to it.
Will that affect your warnings in any way?
Well, of course, we've extended the warnings. You see, we had warnings over just to Pensacola and a watch in the Florida Panhandle, so we're going to extend the warnings all the way over to Apalachicola tonight.
Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Again, there are many, many ways that Elena's movements are being tracked. Take a look.
For you. We've assembled a series going back to 9 o'clock this morning. The X marks the center of rotation. The dissolves will happen very slowly. Each one is about an hour apart. And you can watch, as I will too, as the storm begins to not only grow but intensify as well. And you can see that evidenced by the spiral bands, which are very well developed around there. The spiral bands continue to move around, and the last photograph we have is as of 10 o'clock. Also notice the thing isn't going fast anymore. See, the center...
Awful lot going on. Big hurricane. In fact, this hurricane, of all the hurricanes we've tracked so far this season in the Gulf, this by far is the biggest. We tracked a couple of weeks ago.
Real dangerous hurricane. It's real.
Parts of the west coast of Florida and the north are worried about where they should not go. Which areas are sort of off limits for the time being?
Well, I say to anyone that's going on up in the Panhandle today or tomorrow, it ought to stay very in close touch with what this storm is doing.
That's very good advice. But for the time being, they could plan to leave, say, for Tampa. I had that specific question on the phone just a few minutes ago.
Yeah, you could go up to Tampa, the Orlando area, but I think even if you did that, you'd ought to stay tuned and find out what's happening with the storm.
Meaning you're suspicious of what it's going to do as well. You might be, having tracked so many of these and quite so well. You're doing a great job over there. Thank you very much, Dr. Frank. We're going to give you a chance to see a site...
Oh, Pearl River! And a big hello to Mac Albus. Today is, well, it's his birthday, and he's the Karate Kid. All right, that's his nickname. Here's Elena, again, moving very slowly to the north, only about 6 miles per hour. Now, at that rate, it's going to take till early tomorrow morning to hit either the Florida Panhandle, the southern tip of Alabama. She is moving north. I doubt if she'll start heading northwest. So Louisiana appears to be out of the woods. Last night we were more concerned about Louisiana than the Florida Panhandle, that she's heading dead north. Then eventually she should move out to the northeast into the Carolinas. Let me show you radar. By the way, Elena's winds, in case you missed it earlier, are now 100 miles per hour and could easily be 130 to 150 by the time she makes landfall tomorrow morning. See this white? That is the most intense level on our radar scope. On a level of 1 through 6, this is level 6. Very heavy thunderstorms. There are tornado watches. There are flood watches. It wouldn't be at all surprising to see numerous...
I hope we'll talk more about this in a second. And we'll
hit the and watch as the center progresses more toward the east and northeast than it was the last couple of days. You can see as the clouds begin to rotate. First of all, a lot of stuff coming through here. That's the high clouds out there. Now the eye is almost visible. The last photograph right there at 10 o'clock. It's
Tampa and roughly 100 miles southwest of Apalachicola, Florida. The storm is moving northeastward, threatening the Florida coast from Pensacola to Tarpon Springs. More than 200,000 residents and tourists have fled coastal areas in 7 Florida counties. Tonight that the city is virtually deserted. We're boarded up, he said, and heading for the hills as fast as we can. Joining us live now from the National Hurricane Center in Miami is the center's director, Dr. Neil Frank. Neil, give us a late update.
Okay, tonight we're getting reports from an NOAA airplane that would suggest the storm has finally moved on a definite course towards the east or the east-northeast. And because of that, we extended the warnings earlier in the afternoon down to Tarpon Springs. We are extending the hurricane warnings on down past the Tampa Bay area this evening, and gale warnings on a little bit further on down on the Florida West Coast. And so we've got the dilemma tonight of trying to get those people off the islands around the Tampa Bay area, and it takes a long time to do it, and I'm not really sure whether the storm is going to give us that much time.
Is Elena as erratic as she has been for the last day or so?
Well, it's finally, at least this evening, the airplane has indicated that it's probably moving closer to 10 miles an hour. That's a little more of a definite course. If it'll stay on that course for another 12 or 18 hours, at least we'll get the center over close to the coastal area.
Now, you, over the years, have learned to identify the various characteristics of storms. How would you rate this one in terms of her damage potential?
Well, in terms of a relative scale of 1 to 5, we call that a Saffir-Simpson hurricane scale. This is a respectable hurricane, a Category 2, but it doesn't have the awesome power for great destruction or great loss of life if the people will get back off of those small islands tonight.
What about the velocity of the storm? It was around 100 miles an hour when you and I talked earlier this evening. Any changes there?
No, not at all. About 100 miles an hour, so it hasn't gone ahead and strengthened this afternoon. And if we can get it on into the coastline tomorrow, then it'll come in there as a Category 2 storm. It's going to be a very frightening experience for some of those folks over there because you can push a lot of water across the island. You know, it may be 8 to 12 feet, and that'll put many of those islands underneath water.
Well, that was one of the next thing I was going to ask you. Beyond the velocity of the winds, right, we also have how much water is going to be pushed ahead of that. Give me a sense. What would a Category 3 be in terms of water level? Do you do it by wind, or do you do it also by the amount of water she's going to push ahead?
No, a Category 3, basically, if you had those kind of winds, the water levels up there might go as high as 15 feet. So we're talking about a dome of salt water now, 8 to 12 feet high, that'll push across that coastline near the point where the eye or the center reaches the coast sometime tomorrow. That will put those islands underwater because most of them are no more than 3 or 4 feet high.
All right, Neil Frank, I know I feel a lot better knowing you're down there keeping an eye on it all, and it's good of you to bring us all up to date. Thank you very much indeed.
Good evening.
When we come...
Here's the Apalachicola, Florida National Weather Service radar, and boy, you can just see the hurricane. If we had to put the center of the storm, it's approximately, well, it's just about right here, about 100 miles or so. The latest information that we do have, even though we are expecting a brand new advisory to come out very, very shortly, but the latest information available to the public is shows it about 100 miles to the southwest of Apalachicola, continuing to move toward the northeast. Forward speed still about 5 miles an hour or so, so it's been very, very slow. Let's check now the hurricane warning area, and this has been changed drastically. Here you can get an idea. Actually,
very big thunderstorms embedded in the squall lines, and that goes all the way up the Crystal River and really up by Cedar Key. Now, these could produce some tornadoes, so be on the lookout here, and also some flooding. The tides are going to be running well above normal here. Be watching here as they move northeast, these individual storms. at about 20 miles an hour or so. Now, Charlie Levy is going to bring us up to date on the tropical weather.
Under the storm, here are the heavy rain bands. You can see all the rain extending through the Big Bend country of Florida. That's going to persist.